If you've got one of these Ferris ISZs, Pro Cut Z, whatever you want to call it, they are almost indestructible. But occasionally you do destroy stuff on them. At least I do. That right there, there should be a big ticking noise underneath. The electric clutch that engages the blades, the wire has been ripped off of it. I decided to mow some rocks, and I tore that wire off right there. But don't worry, this isn't the first time I've done this. The other wire there has been ripped off and fixed once before. That noise there is what it should be doing when you engage that big yellow pull button on the control panel. So we're gonna remove this clutch, the whole clutch pack that's there. Then we're gonna put it on the bench and find that little bit of bare copper in there and solder something to it. Both of these nuts and bolts here are 13 millimeters, and then this is a chunk of rubber here that's holding the clutch to the frame. That's kind of like a buffer, I suppose. I guess it's not a hard mount so that it can turn on and off and absorb some of the impact of it turning on and off. It kind of looks like quarry conveyor mat, but it's just rubber sheeting. This socket here is a 5/8, and this is a regularly threaded bolt, so you don't have to worry about turning it the wrong direction. Just back that out. Once you take that off, that clutch is going to be pretty close to just falling off of that shaft. This nut and bolt here, same thing, 13 millimeter, and this gets this rubber flap out of the way so we can take that clutch down a little easier. And the last step before we take that clutch down is getting that belt loose so that it's not holding it to the shaft anymore. This is my preferred method of doing it. Just go to any one of the blade pulleys and lift that belt up and spin it around. I find that's the easiest way to loosen it up. Now this whole thing slides right down off of the shaft from the motor, and there is a little keyway in there. You don't want to lose that. But besides that, everything stays together as one nice piece. So the little piece of copper wire that we're looking for is buried inside of what I assume is injection molded plastic. So we're going to want to grind a bunch of that away and find our little piece of copper. Now that I've figured out where I'm going with that, found the copper, I want to bend the end of it just a little bit up so that I can grind away underneath it slightly. I'm going to get a slightly finer tip on that Dremel tool, and I'm going to uncover it enough so that I can solder some wire to it without burning a whole bunch of plastic up. So, if we did this right, we've excavated enough of that piece of copper sticking out so that we can solder to it and attach a wire and seal it all back up. And that looks pretty good. That's plenty of metal to solder to. So while you're watching me do a mediocre job of soldering something together, I'd say consider throwing a like my way if you're watching this and getting something useful out of it, and maybe you've seen a couple of my videos and you're liking them and getting something useful out of them. Maybe consider subscribing. If you would, that'd make my day. And there we have it. Managed to solder that back together and even did it on the first try. I'm pretty proud of myself. So from here, take a look. Looks pretty good. Everything looks like it's going to hold together pretty sturdy. We're going to want to cover up that opening. My first effort here was with some sort of RTV, gasket seal or something like that. This was a pretty bad idea. That stuff did not cure real firm. So once it was on there, I couldn't take it off. So I ended up working around that. But if you're going to do this, don't do that first. Go right to the epoxy. Epoxy always works, and I don't know why I didn't go that way first. Always mix epoxy till the color's uniform. And after that, you're ready to go. Start smearing it on. The underside of a running lawnmower is a brutal, brutal place. So I wanted to make sure I got some sort of coating on there that was going to be weather tight and kind of rock smashing proof, because I run a lot of stuff into the bottom of this mower. I don't treat it great, so figured epoxy was the best way to go. This is our last step. Put a new blade connector on there. Once that's done, we're ready for the reinstall. Epoxy is cured and the soldering's done. This is it. We can go put it back on the mower. If you do have one of these and you're considering whether this is worth your trouble, you can get these clutches new for 100 to 150 all over the internet. So if this looks like more work than it's worth to you, you could just replace it. But for me, I'd like to keep it running as long as possible, because that's what I like to do. So reinstallation's the same as removal. Just follow all the steps in reverse. You could either keep watching from here on out or watch the first half of the video backwards. Either one will get you what you're looking for. There is a key on the inside of this pilot for the clutch there. You want to make sure that you line that up. That's why I had such a hard time shoving it up there, and that's it. Once that's aligned, tighten up that nut. First step done. Got to remount our little rubber flap. So we're going to do the single bolt on the clutch side first, and then it'll get the 2 bolts that attach it to the frame there second. And I know this strange impact method I'm about to use here looks ridiculous. I did properly tighten it later. I just forgot to film it. Now we hook up our wires, and that is it besides the belt. This is going pretty smooth so far. It's a simple way to get around. We're buying a new clutch pack for this if you wanted to do a little bit of dremeling and a little bit of soldering. So this is the loud, fantastic noise you should be looking for. That loud electric click is exactly what you're looking for. And it's so satisfying, I just can't help but keep doing it. So there we have it. Another one done. Appreciate everybody watching, and have a good one.